If you are applying for cloud engineer jobs right now and you're getting ignored, I want you to stop, not forever, but for a second. Because if your CV, your projects, your LinkedIn, and your interview story are not creating any trust, then sending out more applications is not going to fix the problem. You're just scaling rejection. And I know that sounds harsh, but I just need you to hear it because a lot of people right now are doing this. They study AWS, maybe they get a certification, they watch some YouTube videos, they do a Udemy course, they build a couple of projects, and they start applying for jobs. 20 applications, 50 applications, 100 applications, nothing happens. They get no interviews, they get no recruiter calls, they get no feedback. They just get silence. And then they start thinking, maybe cloud is saturated. Maybe the job market is dead. Maybe AI is taking all the jobs. Maybe I am just not good enough. But most of the time, that is not the real issue. The real issue is your applications are not making anyone trust you just yet. And that's the game that you have to play because getting hired is no longer about proving that you're interested in cloud. Everyone is interested in cloud. Getting hired is about proving that you can be trusted around cloud infrastructure. And that's completely different. So by the end of this video, I'm going to show you exactly what to fix before you send another cloud job application. And I'm not going to be holding back anything. We are going to be talking about your job role target, your projects, your CV, your LinkedIn, your GitHub, your application system, right? Your interview story. You can see all of it that we're going to cover. And also we're going to cover how to know whether you're actually ready to apply for jobs. Because learning AWS is not the goal. Becoming hireable is the goal. And the things that I teach you are the same concepts and mental models that my students inside of my Cloud Engineer Academy are doing and getting hired and landing six-figure jobs, including companies like AWS and Microsoft. Okay, so this video is not really for the person who just watched one AWS video yesterday and is just a little bit curious about the careers, right? This is actually for someone who's actually tried. Right? You've been learning cloud for a few months, maybe 6 months, maybe a year, maybe even longer. You've watched a few YouTube videos, you've done a Udemy course, you've asked ChatGPT or Claude to explain AWS, you've played around with EC2, S3, IAM, maybe even some Terraform, right? You may even have an AWS certification. You may also have built a project or two. And now you're at this awkward stage where you've done some work around cloud engineering, but you still don't feel like a cloud engineer. You're not fully confident applying for jobs. Or maybe you are applying, but nothing is happening. And the frustrating part is not knowing what's broken. Is it your CV? Is it your projects? Is it your lack of experience? Is it your LinkedIn? Is it the roles that you're applying for? Is it the market? Is it your interview skills? You don't know, right? So you just keep doing more and more of what you've been already doing. More studying, more tutorials, more applications, more guessing. And that's the trap because you don't have a motivation problem. You're already trying. Right? You have a diagnosis problem because if you don't know what's broken, you simply cannot fix it. And if you can't fix it, you'll just keep repeating the same approach and hoping that the results will change. That is not a strategy. That is hope. And hope is not a job search plan. So here are the biggest mistakes that people make. They think the answer to no interviews is more applications. So they go, okay, I applied to 50 jobs and got nothing. Maybe I just need to apply to 200 jobs. Sometimes volume does matter. Of course it does. But volume only helps when your signal is strong enough. So if your CV is weak, your projects are generic, your LinkedIn is empty, your GitHub doesn't explain anything, and you can't explain what you build, more applications just means that more people will ignore you. And that's what I call rejection at scale. And this is where lots of people completely misunderstand the job search process. They think applying for jobs is step one. It is not. Applying comes from proof. The real order is build the proof, package the proof, position the proof, apply with proof, explain proof, then get hired. And most people skip this middle part, right? They learn some AWS, maybe they get a certification, they build a tutorial project, they throw it onto a CV, and they start applying. Then they get no results because they haven't created enough trust. And that is the key word here, trust. Because a hiring manager is not sitting there and thinking, has this person watched enough tutorials? They're thinking, can I trust this person near our infrastructure? Can I trust them with IAM? Can I trust them with networking? Can I trust them with production systems? Can I trust them to troubleshoot? Can I trust them to not open any security holes? Can I trust them to communicate properly? Can I trust them to learn fast? Can I trust them to ask for help when they are stuck? Your application needs to answer all of those questions. And if it doesn't, it simply just gets ignored. So let me give you a framework. I call this the Cloud Engineer Hiring Trust Stack. Bit of a mouthful. Now, there are 6 layers. Layer 1 is role clarity. Layer 2 is skill proof. Layer 3 is project proof. Layer 4 is packaging proof. Layer 5 is visibility proof. And layer 6 is interview proof. Now, if any of these layers are broken, your applications will struggle. And this is why a lot of people are still so confused, because they think that I know AWS, why am I not getting any interviews? Because the truth is, knowing AWS is only one layer. You might have the knowledge, right? But do you have the proof? You might have the projects, but are they packaged properly? You may have a CV, but does it show the outcomes? You probably have a GitHub, but does it explain your thinking? You might get an interview, but can you explain why you built what you built? The job search and getting hired is not just one single thing. It's a stack. And when the stack is weak, the market simply doesn't trust you. So let's fix it. The first part is stop applying to every single cloud role. This is the first thing that you need, and you need to fix it, because this is all about role clarity. A lot of people say that I'm applying for cloud jobs, but what does that even mean? Are you applying for cloud support engineer, junior cloud engineer, cloud engineer, DevOps engineer, platform engineer, cloud security engineer, solutions architect, AI cloud engineer? These are not all the same roles. They do overlap, but they're not completely identical. And if you apply to all of them with the same generic CV, then you're going to confuse the market, okay? Because confused people, they do not get hired. If your CV says aspiring cloud, DevOps, cybersecurity, AI, solutions architect professional, that doesn't make you look flexible. It makes you look very unclear, because you need one primary target role, not forever, just for the next 30 to 60 days. So you want to pick one. For example, I'm only targeting cloud engineer roles, or I am targeting cloud support engineer roles with AWS skills or exposure. Now, or you could say I'm targeting cloud infrastructure roles or cloud security roles because I come from cybersecurity and I already have some cloud skills. Now, then what you do is all of your learning, your projects, your CV, your LinkedIn and applications will all point to the same direction. And this is really how you stop looking a little bit random, because the job market is already giving you the roadmap. You just need to read it properly. So what you do is you go find 20 job descriptions for the role that you want, not one, but 20. Then you want to look at the repeated patterns. What keeps showing up? AWS, VPC, Linux, Terraform, CloudWatch, Python, Docker, CI/CD, security. Those repeated skills become your roadmap, not random tutorials, not whatever's trending that week on the internet. The market will always tell you what it wants. And your job is to build a proof around that. And by the way, if you want my help to land a 6-figure cloud role, all you got to do is check the links in the description below. We've got this school community, which is our actual VIP program. You can see we've got over 400 members. We also have live coaching calls that are happening every single week. As you can see, this upcoming week, we've got a live call happening every single day with real experts in the industry, and also live calls with me as well, coaching you guys. And we've got this live community full of members. We also have a free school community where you can go and get completely free cloud career resources in there, student wins, roadmap breakdowns, and also examples of other people who are making a switch. So all you have to do is click the link in the description below. But if you're ready to go, you can also check the second link in the description, and you can quickly go through our landing page and then go all the way down here and book a strategy call with one of my trusted advisors, and we'll see if we can help you land a cloud job in 2026. Okay, so the second thing that you need to fix is your projects. And I'm going to be honest here. Most cloud projects do not count as real proof. Not because your projects are useless, because projects are extremely important. But most people will build projects in a way that creates almost zero trust. They follow a tutorial, they click this, they click that, they use this architecture, they copy the Terraform code, they push it to GitHub, and they write, I've built an AWS project using EC2, RDS, and S3. And then they think, great, I now have some cloud experience. Not really, because you've completed a tutorial. That's completely different. A project does not count because it exists. A project counts because it proves that you can think. So your projects need to show, what problems are you solving? What were the requirements? What architecture did you design? Why did you choose those AWS services? What alternatives did you consider? What broke? How did you fix it? What would you change in production? How would you secure it? How would you monitor it? How would you control the cost? This is what creates trust. A hiring manager does not care that you clicked for a tutorial. They care about whether you can reason through a real cloud problem. So, if your project does not show reasoning, then it's weak. If your project has no business problem, then it's weak. If your project has no trade-offs, then it's weak. If your project has no troubleshooting, then it's weak. If your project has no production thinking, then it's weak. And I'm not saying this to discourage you. I'm saying this because this is all fixable. So how do we build a project that actually helps you get hired? Here is the project framework. You want to always start with a problem, not I wanted to learn AWS. That's not a problem. A real problem sounds something like a small company needs a secure web application deployed on AWS with private databases, monitoring, backups, and repeatable architecture. Now we actually have something. Then we define the requirements. Does it need to be cheap, secure, highly available, simple to maintain, easy to deploy? What's the traffic? Who needs access? What data is being stored? Then we design the architecture. Right? Maybe we use VPC, public and private subnets, application load balancers, EC2, Lambdas, ECS, RDS. Right? We pick the services that will help us solve the problem. Then we explain our decisions. Why this specific database? What kind of data are we storing? Why does it have to be private? Why did we pick EC2 instead of Lambda? Why Terraform? Why CloudWatch? Why this backup approach? Right? Then we document what broke, and this is very important. We do not want to hide the messy parts. Maybe your application couldn't connect to the database. Maybe your IAM policy was wrong. Maybe your Terraform failed. Maybe your load balancer health check didn't work. That's fine. Document it. That is proof because it shows that you can troubleshoot. Right? A lot of people hide their mistakes and when things go wrong, but actually should always be documented because no one's going to believe that you did it right the first time. Then you want to add any sort of production improvements. What would change if this had real users? How would you add auto scaling? Would you add better alerting and monitoring? Would you use Secrets Manager? Would you use multi-AZ for RDS? Would you add WAF? Would you improve the login? Or how would you reduce the cost of a NAT gateway? This is how your project starts sounding like a real cloud engineering experience, right? Not a tutorial. You have a project brief, a system, and a story. Fix number 3 is that your CV is a list of tools and not proof. A lot of cloud CVs are basically right now just a list of tools and services. AWS, EC2, IAM, VPC, Terraform, Linux, Docker, right? But what did you actually do with them? That's what the employers really want to know. Your CV should not say that I know AWS. Your CV should say, here is the type of cloud problem that I can solve, right? It shouldn't be built AWS project using EC2, S3, RDS, and Terraform. A better way to say that is I've designed and deployed a secure 3-tier web application using VPC, RDS, IAM, CloudWatch with Terraform, with private database access, monitoring, and documented the production improvements, right? This was the same project, but it sounds completely different, i.e. it's completely different signal. The first one says that I use some tools. The second one says I understand architecture and infrastructure. That's a big, big difference. And if you're coming from a non-technical or non-cloud background, then you need to be even more intentional. For example, if you're in help desk, show troubleshooting. If you're in sales, show communication and stakeholder management. If you're in finance, show process, systems, accuracy, risk, and automation. If you're in healthcare, show problem solving, diagnostic thinking, and documentation. If you're a manual worker or logistics, show discipline, reliability, operation, and ownership. Your past experience is not useless, but you have to be able to translate that into cloud engineering work and cloud engineering value because most people don't do that. They either hide their past or list it in a way that feels irrelevant. And that's a big mistake because your CV needs to connect your background to the role that you want. That is what I call positioning. All right, the 4th thing that you need to fix is visibility. A lot of people are learning in the dark, right? They're building in the dark, they're improving in the dark, and then they wonder why nobody sees them. If the market cannot see your proof, then your proof basically doesn't exist. Right? So you have to let people know that you have these skills. Your GitHub should not be a dumping ground. It should explain your thinking. Every serious project should add a proper README. What problem does it solve? What architecture did you build? What services did you use? Why did you use them? How did you deploy it? What broke? Then your LinkedIn should support that. Post your project, post your diagrams, post what you learned, post what broke, post a Loom walkthrough, post the trade-offs, right? This is because recruiters and hiring managers, they need the signals. It's just as hard for those guys, the hiring managers and recruiters, to find the right people, just like it is for you getting a job. They're trying to find the right people and you're trying to find the right role, right? So if you show that you've got the skills, you're showing the signals, then the recruiter and the hiring manager will pick up on those signals, because most candidates give them absolutely nothing. They have an empty LinkedIn, a generic headline, no projects, no posts, no proof. And then they're surprised when nobody reaches out to them. Now, visibility is not about bragging the skills that you have or lying. Visibility is how opportunities will find you. And in 2026, if you're trying to break into cloud and your LinkedIn looks like you don't even exist, then you're making life harder than it needs to be. So the fifth thing that you need to fix is your application system. Most people don't have one. They just apply randomly. They open LinkedIn, they click easy reply, they send the same CV, and they close their laptop. Then they complain 2 weeks later that the market is dead. That's not a system. You need to track your applications. Create a very, very simple spreadsheet: a role, company, date applied, job title, job description link, CV version used, recruiter's name, hiring manager name, follow-up date, response, outcome, interview notes, right? And after a few weeks, you'll start to see the patterns. Maybe cloud support roles respond more to you than cloud engineer roles. Maybe your Terraform projects get more interest. Maybe your CV version with projects higher up gets better responses. Maybe you're applying to roles that are too senior. Maybe your LinkedIn is not aligned with your CV. That is all data. And that data lets you improve. So if you don't track anything, you can't diagnose anything. You're just simply guessing them. Also, don't just apply and disappear. Find a recruiter, find a hiring manager, find cloud engineers and other engineers at those companies. Send a short message, not to look desperate, right? Just to show that you're a real human, right? Just say, hey, I applied for this cloud engineer role. I've been building XYZ, right? And I record a short walkthrough of my latest project here. Would appreciate you taking a look. Will everyone reply to that? Probably not, but a lot of people will actually apply. And that's the point, because most people won't do this because they're simply scared of looking stupid. And that's good, because that's your advantage. You have to do what other people won't do. So the sixth thing that you need to fix is your interview story, because even if your CV works and you get an interview, the interview will expose you if your understanding is shallow. And I've seen this happen so many times. Someone builds a project, they feel good, and then the interviewer will ask them, why do you use EC2 instead of Lambda? What happens? They freeze, right? Why is your database in a private subnet? They freeze. How would you monitor this? They freeze. What would you change if this project had 100,000 users? What happens? Well, they freeze. And what happens is that you will walk away from those interviews thinking that you're bad at interviewing. Maybe that is actually a thing, but often that's not the real issue. The real issue is that your learning never trained you to explain why. You learned what to click, you didn't learn how to reason. So for every project that you build, you need a 2-minute project story. Use this structure: problem, requirements, architecture, services, what broke, how you fixed it, what you would improve in production, business value, and you want to practice it out loud. Not in your head, but out loud. Record yourself on Loom, use ChatGPT voice mode or Claude voice mode, and ask it to interview you. All right, tell it, act like a senior engineer, ask me hard questions about this project, challenge my decisions, ask follow-ups, don't let me get away with vague answers. Right? That's how you prepare. Do not let the first time you explain your project properly be in a real interview. That is completely insane, because athletes, they rehearse. Musicians, they rehearse. Pilots, they simulate. You need to simulate too, because when you walk into an interview, you want to feel like it's just a simple rerun of what you've already done before. So before you send another application, audit yourself. Question 1, am I targeting one clear role? If not, fix that. Question 2, have I looked at 20 job descriptions and identified repeated skills? If not, do that. Question 3, did my projects match the role that I'm applying for? If not, improve them. Question 4, does my CV show outcomes or just tools? If it's just tools, rewrite them. Question 5, does my GitHub explain my thinking? If not, fix the README. Question 6, does my LinkedIn make me searchable? If not, fix your headline, your skills, and your featured projects. Question 7, can I explain my best project in 2 minutes? If not, practice. Question 8, can I answer why I chose each service? If not, go back and learn the trade-offs. Question 9, do I have an application tracker? If not, create one. Question 10, am I improving based on data? If not, you're just repeating yourself. If you cannot answer these questions, don't send another 100 applications. Fix the signal first, because more volume does not fix weak positioning. So let me make this extremely practical for you. Here is what I want you to do over the next 7 days. Day 1, pick one target role. Junior cloud engineer, cloud support engineer, cloud infrastructure engineer, whatever makes sense for your background. Then you want to collect 20 job descriptions, highlight the repeated skills. Day 2, audit your projects. Ask yourself, do these projects prove the repeated skills from those job descriptions? Do they show decisions? Do they show troubleshooting? Do they show production thinking? If not, write down what's missing. Day 3, fix one project, not all of them. One single project. Rewrite the README, add the architecture, add the problem statement, add the services, add the trade-offs, add what broke, and add the production improvements. Day 4, rewrite your CV for the target role. Move relevant projects higher, turn tools into outcomes and bullets. Match repeated keywords from the job descriptions and make it very obvious what role you fit. Day 5, fix LinkedIn and GitHub. Update your headline, add your key skills, feature your best project, post a short breakdown of what you've built. Day 6, record a Loom walkthrough. 2 to 5 minutes, explain the project, explain the problem, explain the architecture, explain the trade-offs, what broke, what you would improve. Day 7, apply to 10 targeted roles, not random roles, targeted roles, and use your application tracker, send the follow-up messages, track the response, then you just simply repeat, because that is a job search system, right? An actual system that will work. Now, some of you are not being ignored because the market is impossible. You're being ignored because your applications simply look like everyone else's. Same certs, same projects, same CVs, same empty LinkedIn, same GitHubs, same I'm passionate about cloud summaries. And I'm not saying that to judge you. I'm saying it because it's fixable. If your projects are weak, you need to build stronger proof. If your CV is vague, you want to fix your positioning. If your LinkedIn is invisible, you want to start showing your work. If your interview answers are shallow, practice explaining your reasoning. If you don't know which part of your system is broken, then you need to get feedback. You don't want to say the market is dead, AI took the jobs, I'm not lucky, right? Maybe the market is a little bit harder. Maybe AI is changing things. Maybe there is more competition. Fine. But none of that is in your control, because people are still getting hired. Right now is the best time ever to get hired and get a job in tech. My students are getting hired every single week inside of my academy. So the question is, what are they proving that you are not? That's the real question that actually moves you forward. So if you're watching this and thinking, okay, this makes a lot of sense, but I genuinely don't know what part of my work is broken, then that's exactly what we help inside of my Cloud Engineer Academy. Because for a lot of people, the problem is not the effort. You are trying, you are watching videos, you are studying, you are applying, but you're doing it all without any sort of feedback, right? Nobody's looking at your projects and telling you that this doesn't create any sort of trust. This is why recruiters are ignoring you. Nobody's helping you choose the right role. Nobody's training you to explain your projects in interviews. Nobody's telling you what to ignore, right? So you keep guessing. Now, inside of my academy, we'll help you build the skills, build the real projects, package them properly, fix your CV and your LinkedIn, prepare for interviews, and get feedback from people who actually know what good looks like. And then we work with you until you're hired. Not because you need another course, right? Because you probably have a lot of courses already. You need a system, a roadmap, projects, mentorship, feedback, accountability, interview prep, career positioning, because you don't need more random applications. You need to become someone that the market can trust. So if you want my help to land a cloud role in 2026, then click the link below, watch the short trading video, this one right here, and apply to speak with my trusted advisors. We'll look at where you are at now, where you want to go, what you've already tried, and whether we can help you land a cloud role. And if we can help you, we'll show you the path. If not, no hard feelings. But whatever you do, but don't keep applying for broken proof and call it job search. Fix the signal first. So stop applying for random cloud jobs until you fix this. Right? Fix the role target, fix the projects, fix the CV, fix the LinkedIn, fix the GitHub, fix the application system, fix the interview story, because the goal is not to send more applications. The goal is to send better signals to the market. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to know everything. You don't need 10 years of experience, but you do need enough proof for someone to say, okay, this person looks like they can help us solve our cloud engineering problems. And that's what gets you interviews. That's what gets you hired. And that is what you need to build next. As always, I'm rooting for you. Good luck.